you have to steward intentionally. As much as you're attracting this abundance, you have to know that there are some systems in place you have to put in place to make sure that this continues.
That's important because then you're not beholden to staying caged or staying in a place that you know you've either outgrown or you no longer want to be there.
To have your protection,
Yeah.
you must make sure you're managing your debt, have an emergency fund, and you must learn to invest no matter who you are as a woman or
Mhm.
a man or a young adult just starting life.
You're also showing us that money doesn't have to be this scary, um, sort of part of our lives. It actually can bring us a lot of joy. And I also appreciate that you said, yeah, it can be dull at times. It can be automated. It can, go through systems ultimately to support the life that we are meant to live, hold, believe, and dream at the same time. Hi there. Welcome to Unspeakable Leadership, a space that transcends time, borders, and barriers to reclaim our stories as women of color, leading in organizations, communities, and in our own lives. I'm your host, Rohene Bouajram. With a 20-year career trajectory of leadership, an aspiring storyteller, mom of a son and a fur baby, first-generation immigrant, and uninvited guest in Canada, I want to thank you for being on this journey with me. Let us grow together in conversation. I can only imagine that as you have been listening and watching, you have been not only seeing yourself in some of our incredible guests, but you've also been wondering about who else could you meet as part of this journey. So let me tell you about our next guest, Chimaobim Udodi. Chima is a financial literacy advocate, an entrepreneur, and speaker who is passionate about helping individuals and families build financial confidence and long term security. With a background in drilling, engineering, and sales, she transitioned fully into financial education to focus on empowering communities through financial awareness, peace of mind, and wealth building strategies. Known for her relatable and people centered approach, she is committed to helping others make informed decisions, create stability, and build lives that are rooted in purpose, freedom, and generational impact. Chima, thank you so much for being here on Unspeakable Leadership as part of season 5. It's an honor.
Thank you so much, Rohan. I'm really grateful and I'm happy to be part of this section. It's really amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Likewise. Likewise. I feel like, as I've been in this, almost feeling like this cocoon and container of conversation and in many ways of building clarity for and with each other, I am always just amazed by how each person is just adding layers and layers of depth and understanding. And so I have no doubt we are going to do the same today. So, Chima, I start off this first question for each guest because it just gives us more of an idea of you. And that is really, can you share with us what has your leadership journey been?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you very much, Rohan. Um, my leadership journey honestly started a very long time ago. Even before I ever entered into business, um, it started through responsibility, observing life, and constantly asking myself how I could create more impact and freedom, to be honest. Professionally, I came from an engineering background. I transitioned into financial education and entrepreneurship. That shift challenged me deeply, and it came as a result of, oh, I have this need, this craving, this wanting to know, wanting to understand, wanting to be more, wanting to, give more, impact more. I'm still building in this phase of my journey, but I've learned that leadership is less about having all the answers, more about consistency, self-awareness, and being willing to grow publicly while helping others grow too. Leadership for me becoming the woman who can build people, create opportunities, and leave my environment better than when I met it, to be honest.
Oh, I love that. That's a beautiful definition of not only living your life, but also thinking about the legacy that you are building, both in present day and perhaps in as part of something that people will remember you for and remember you by. So I really see that not only in how you embody it, but in also how you're living by it as well. And I can't help but also wonder, Chima, behind sometimes these beautiful big dreams and certainly the legacy building and generational wealth, which I know that you are very much a proponent for. I also know that many people inherit beliefs about money, about success, about security, and honestly don't always question them. So I'm curious from your perspective, what are some of the financial or personal narratives that you realize were limiting your freedom?
To be honest, one of the biggest narrative I had to confront was the idea of survival alone was not enough. To be honest,
Mm-hmm.
I realize many of us inherit beliefs around money rooted in fear, lack, instability, and the most biggest one is the fear of dreaming big. To be
Yeah,
honest,
yeah,
um, my mom is a banker, right?
yeah.
We work in the bank industry. I grew up with a mom that knows money. Not really. I grew up because she also read law while working in the bank. So I'm more of a very educational rooted person. I have 2 degrees and now this one. And being hardworking doesn't necessarily mean that you have freedom. And we've been taught that you have to be hard worker. At some point, it doesn't mean intentionally building wealth. So at some point, I had to ask myself whether I wanted to spend my life reacting to bills and responsibility, or whether I wanted to create structure, ownership, and long-term freedom. That shift changed how I approached money, personal growth, and even my leadership.
Mm-hmm. I have to say, I heard you just now kind of say something, then giggle where you said, my mom loves money, and then you're like, I love money, and the thing is, I kind of like picked up on that because I do believe one of the narratives that many of us are often led to believe is that we shouldn't love money. We shouldn't have this relationship with it in that way because for a variety of reasons we must be humble, we must be hardworking, all of those things. And yet, money does change the way in which you can live your life, the lifestyle you can have. So I really want to say thank you for saying that, even though I could tell that you were like, oh, okay, like, can we say things like that? Oh my gosh. And so I guess my question to you is, as you started to have this relationship with money, um, and you started to see it, well, it doesn't have to just be about survival, and rather it's a tool. It's a tool, for choice, for alignment, for power. What did that shift in seeing that as a tool do for you?
What it shifted was for me that it actually realized that having money actually gave you options.
Mm,
Financial stability actually matters.
yeah,
Um, it gives you the ability to care for family the way you want to care for them, support causes, create memories, and live less with fear. I have to tell you,
yeah.
that is one of the things that I, I struggled with. I'm still struggling with it, even if I that I understand it. Personally, I came from a place where I deeply value family
Mm,
and legacy.
mhm,
And for me, financial leadership became connected to creating security for the people I love and starting with myself, to be honest,
mm,
and eventually being able to help others from a very place of overflow, right?
mm, mhm.
I still have goals I'm working towards, but my relationship with money became more healthier once I stopped seeing it only as something to chase,
Yeah.
but something to steward intentionally.
So it's not something to chase, something to
Yeah,
steward intentionally.
intentionally.
How do you do that?
I once heard a quote that says, uh, "Money, if you like money, yeah, but money also wants you. So
Okay.
if you actually have the skill set,
Yeah.
money actually comes to you. I don't want to go spiritual into it, but the
No,
thing
please
there is,
do. I think we need that.
well, finances, wealth, it's almost like you create it. It's more like,
Mhm.
oh, I am believing I am here.
Mhm.
I'm not coming from a place of lack.
Mhm.
Oftentimes we say it, but we don't understand what our subconscious is saying. So
Right.
we intentionally have to be like, oh, I'm not coming from a place of lack. I'm coming from a
Right.
place of abundance. I
Yeah.
am here. Money and I are the same frequency. I, I am like, I bring it to me. It comes to me. It wants to be around me. It likes being around me. I radiate that.
Yeah.
So once you keep on having that feeling, it puts you in a mindset of creation because money is creative. It's creativity. It puts you in the mindset of stewardship. Money is service. And most people don't understand that services is what bring money. Skill set is what bring money. When you create something, it brings money. So that's basically when I meant stewardship intentionally, that's what I meant. You have to be aligned with it.
Hi there. I just had to pop in to let you know something. I have a gift for you. Leadership can sometimes feel lonely and complex. So check out the resource page on my website and download your free leadership journal or strategic planning guide. I always welcome feedback. So let me know how they support you. Enjoy. You know, Chima, I can't help but think you're touching on something that is really powerful. And I know at the beginning you said, I don't know if we should go spiritual, but and yet it is spiritual because money affects our core. It affects our sense of safety. It affects our well-being, and so everything is embedded within ourselves when we think of the relationship and the thoughts that and the beliefs that we have around money. And it's interesting that you bring up that beautiful almost affirmation, right? Where you say, you know, I love money and money loves me. I love money and money loves me. And I've heard this affirmation being shared in different ways and in different versions. And ultimately, what it's helping us do, when I think of the idea of the arena, is that we can curate an arena based on some of these rituals or these strategies that we create in our lives. Because if we're reliant on old belief systems and to some extent old behaviors of how we've done things, then we'll stay in the same arena that we've always been. However, when we are curating our arena, where we start to bring in affirmations and we start to bring in different ways of seeing what we can do with tools like money, we start to take up different roles. Like you said, stewarding, creating intentionality, and in many ways, being in a place of trust that what I put out in the world will come back to me and will come back to me in that level of abundance. And so I just love the way in which you're building for us a very different relationship to money, and also a different way in which we can really see the options, as you shared, that we can create with money that lead to things like, you know generational wealth and the accumulation of wealth. And so I'm curious, because often I think as women, there's all this perception about, when you get money. My son is very famous in saying to me, "Mom, if you got $1 million, I know what you would buy." And I say to him, "Well, what?" And he's like, "Dresses." And yeah, exactly. And there's a part of me that's like, okay, he's not wrong.
No, he's not.
He's not
But
wrong, but not the whole $1 million here, like I have some other options, but
yeah.
there is this perception of that's what women are only going to do, right? They're only going to
Mhm.
direct it towards fashion, clothes, etc. And so my question to you is, as you saw money coming into your life and building wealth, and you talked about bigger dreams, who did you become? And what were some of those new things that you started to explore about what you could do with money?
Hmm. To be honest, who did I become was I became someone intentional, very
Mm.
real fast, real quick. Because there's this adage in my place that let me say it in English is what you used to have before
Uh-huh.
doesn't matter. So even if you were wealthy before, you don't have it now, you're not wealthy. So
Interesting. Okay.
so the thing is, as much as I wanted, I was curating that arena for myself. Like
Yeah.
I have to be in abundance. I had to be intentional with
Mm,
how abundant I wanted to be. So I had to take very, very strategic steps
mm.
to put that abundance into a system, right? I
Okay.
had to amplify. There's a system. I have to use the system because it's like a mathematical formula.
Hmm.
Most people will say vibration is physics,
Right.
but it is. I'm an engineer, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
but the thing, but the thing there is, we also are beings, we are spiritual beings, right?
Hmm.
But because I said before, you have to steward intentionally.
Hmm.
As much as you're attracting this abundance, you have to know that there are some systems in place you have to put in place to make sure that this continues.
Right.
Because most times people are like, oh, I feel good today, I don't feel good tomorrow. Yes, you're not a statue. Of course, you wouldn't feel good every day.
Yeah.
But if you have a system in place that is curated just for you,
Yeah.
strategies, it would help make sure that that abundance, that
Mm.
accumulation keeps on coming, right? And that are the things I share when I sit down with people.
Yeah. And so what can you tell us, like, what are some of those systems and those strategies that you know work really well?
Okay. To be fair, on a very simple scale, not to overburden you, we could talk as much as you want if you
Yeah.
want to. You can contact me. But on a very beautiful, I like to call it a beautiful wedding cake,
Uh-huh.
right?
Uh-huh.
There's a 4 tier cake
Okay.
that you should have in place,
Okay.
no matter who you are, wherever you are, even if you're
Mhm.
just starting out. It's something that is beginner friendly.
Mhm.
You have to have the basis is protection, right? You must protect what is important to you,
Right.
yourself, your income, your investment, your family.
Right.
As women, is very important.
Right.
The second layer of this cake, you must make sure that you're managing your debts, right? Your
Mm-hmm.
debts. You need to understand there are good debts, there are bad debts,
Yeah.
there are consumer debts. You need to understand those terminologies because those are systems that the world has in place.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand them, they'll fight against you.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to understand, how do I pay off my credit card? How do I use debt, utilize it
Mm.
in a positive manner so that I don't go into bad debts and then you're stuck in a cycle of paying for something for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And the third tier of the cake, right? The third one, it's an emergency fund.
Mm.
Nobody talks how much this, but my mom embedded that in me as a very young child.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, am I okay to speak my language?
Mm. Yes, you can. Of course.
Uh,
Absolutely.
my mom will say, okay, we call it in English or in our Nigerian tongue, we call it having vexed money. Vexed money means when someone gets you angry, you have a money to be like, I can't take the shit.
Oh yes, oh yes, and others would call that in other ways, uh, goodbye money, and but we could use goodbye in a different tone. But yes, and can I just say that's important because then you're not beholden to staying caged or staying in a place that you know you've either outgrown or you no longer want to be there. And so I love that your mom taught you that because it is important. But sorry, continue.
But that's really important because when she said it, she just said it in a term of like as a woman when it comes to relationship. But
Yeah,
it goes way beyond that.
yeah,
It goes, you should have that when it comes to family because you don't know when emergency is going to pop up from nowhere. It also
absolutely.
comes to have that when it comes to your career, your growth, your working experience. You don't know when you're going to get laid off. So having an emergency fund is important because
Hmm.
should you get laid off, you don't want to like start looking for your next meal.
Yeah,
You don't want to go to that desperation mode because you want to keep maintaining that level of abundance frequency,
yeah,
right? And then the final tier of the cake, like the crowning of the cake, the top,
yeah,
the beautiful one. We all have to invest, right? We need to learn the idea of investing. We need to
yeah.
understand because investment is what makes the world, money makes the world go around. So you need to understand. Is my money growing?
Yeah.
How is it growing? How can I get this money to grow? Because
Mm.
gone are the days when they tell you to work and save. Honey, you're not going to save yourself into buying a yacht.
No.
You're not going to save yourself into going to the Bahamas.
Mhm.
you or you can invest yourself into being the CEO, the millionaire that you want.
Yeah.
So if you have these four systems in place
Hmm.
and you still keep up that abundance even on the days when you don't feel too good and that system is already you've already put it in place,
Hmm.
when your emotions come back again, you're still there. Because you know that even if you're having a very terrible day and you realize, oh, I do have some emergency fund, I don't have to feel so bad. It picks you right up,
Yes.
right? So those 4 tiers are important. I have a lot of workshops that I share about this,
Hmm.
but I will just reiterate it again. You have to have your protection.
Yeah.
You must make sure you're managing your debt. Have an emergency fund, and you must learn to invest, no matter who you are as a woman or
Hmm.
a man or a young adult just starting life. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I love your analogy. I really love your analogy of the cake, right? Because I think of that saying of, you can have your cake and eat it, or you can't have your
Yes.
cake and eat it. And I'm like, well, no, why not? Why can't we have both? Like, and you're almost turning that on, on the flipping it over and saying it is possible if you have the following. And I can say, even with what how you have condensed it into such a beautiful four-step framework, is that it gives people a chance to check, right? And I hope that those who are listening, those who are watching, are going to think to themselves and reflect where in that beautiful layers of the cake that you've provided, where is there perhaps a missing piece, or where is there a piece for them to bake in a different opportunity or a different approach, because we truly can have our cake and we can eat it and we can enjoy it and we can share it and we can love it. And at the same time, it takes time to think about how to really curate it in such an intentional way. So I'm very grateful, Chima, that you are sharing some of these nuggets and these secrets, which I know you expand and you offer more advice to and on. And so as we bring our time to a close, which I am always just in awe over how time flies by, is I know we have a range of listeners, and particularly for money, because I think when we talk about money, and I think of this conversation that I had even in season 3, when we were talking about breaking cycles, and I spoke to another guest, and specifically we're talking about the trauma of money, which I know we talked a little bit about today, but we didn't go into detail. Is that some of us are still carrying these wounds and these challenges about money. And you talked about debt, and the cycle of debt for some is get out of it, get back into it, get out of it, get back into it. And you've highlighted how there's a way for us to have healthy debt and not bad debt. And so I think of the woman who is listening, who is either early on and thinking about money, and those who have maybe accumulated it and now are thinking about money in different ways. What would you tell somebody who is ready to define their own arena when it comes to money?
Um, in all seriousness and in all fairness, I will tell you this. I will tell them not to wait until they feel ready before they begin. I'm not where I am because I was sure. I just I will use the word. So people say go with the flow. I didn't. I just said okay, let's do it. I didn't know what it was gonna pan out. I wasn't ready, but I was like, when I get there, I would figure it out. Right? Just do it. And oftentimes the people will say, fail, fail, fail until you actually succeed, because that is the only way you can learn. That's the fastest way to learn. Growth often feels very uncomfortable because you're becoming someone you've never been before. So when it comes to money, it's going to be very uncomfortable. You're going to be fighting with those very rooted paradigms that have been in you since you were young. I also encourage you to protect your mindset, to be honest. Become intentional about who you surround yourself with, because to be honest, I think that kind of what shaped me.
Mm,
Even if you don't have the people, the books actually help. The kind of books you read, the things you allow yourself to be informed about. Um, Surround yourself with the kind of with the place you want to be, surround yourself with it now because that will push you to be
Yeah.
there, right? And most importantly, I would like to remind anybody listening, including myself, that success is not built overnight.
Hmm.
The visible results we admire usually is built over discipline,
Yeah.
uncertainty, learning, and a quiet persistence.
Mm.
Um, you would definitely cry overnight. You would definitely feel like you're failing. You will feel like, why did I even start this? But just know that the goal is where you're headed, but the process is not going to be smooth,
Mm.
right? But you have to trust yourself.
Yeah.
My very good friend and sister would always say, your money shouldn't be very interesting. It means you're doing something wrong. Your money life should be very boring.
I love that.
If your money life is interesting, you're doing something wrong. Because the wealthy people we all know actually, their money life isn't interesting. It's really boring.
Yeah.
It's automated. It's
Yeah.
the little thing. So you don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to stay willing to grow,
Mhm.
keep moving forward with a purpose, be open to learning. Because
Yeah.
to be honest, I have plenty degrees and papers. All like not because I just kept on wanting to understand one thing from the other. And to be honest, you're allowed to wear as many scarves as possible. But
Mhm.
don't forget the goal. The goal is to get to where you want to.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, no matter the kind of goal you have in life, money is very important. So you need
Yeah.
to understand financial literacy.
Mhm.
And not only understanding financial literacy, you need to apply and implement the
Mhm.
financial literacy. Because oftentimes, education or knowledge not applied or information not applied is just knowledge.
Yeah.
You don't use it. But
Isn't that the truth?
but once you apply it, it doesn't make a difference. So I would love to, I love the time I've spent with you, and I would love to spend more time talking with you. But I just want to let the lady, the young woman, the older lady,
Mhm.
the young girl, the in me when I was 16, if she's out there that is listening, that you can create your own arena. You can
Yeah.
carve out yours. It doesn't have to make sense to everybody
Mhm.
because it didn't make sense to me when I switched from engineering to finances. But all I knew was I was going, I like money, I like money, I like
And you said that now 3 times. I love it. I love it. You're like, I'm gonna own it now. I'm owning it.
money. So it doesn't have to make sense to everyone, but if it does make sense to you, and the paths will definitely show itself. But the thing there is,
Yeah.
persistent is what is going to keep you there.
Mhm.
Wanting to see through will keep you there. Consistency, perseverance,
I love it.
having a system in place. And having a system is what I do very well as an engineer.
Yeah.
And having a system makes your money grow. So
Amazing.
if you want to learn more about the system, yes, please reach out to Rohan.
Yeah.
Rohan will definitely let you know how to reach out to me. I want to share it with as much people as possible because we all need to know what we need to know. So that,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
uh,
and I will do one even better is you do not have to wait to reach out to me. There will be show notes that you can easily access for anyone who is watching or listening, that is going to be either drop below you or in the bio, where you can learn more about Chima, and there is a link directly to the financial literacy work that Chima is building and supporting others who are on their journey. And so I really do encourage each and every one of you to take up Chima on her offer. Chima, thank you so much for spending your time with us, for being on season 5 of Unspeakable Leadership. I have learned a lot. I have also laughed a lot today after our time together. And what I really appreciate is you're also showing us that money doesn't have to be this scary, sort of part of our lives. It actually can bring us a lot of joy. And I also appreciate that you said, yeah, it can be dull at times. It can be automated. It can, go through systems ultimately to support the life that we are meant to live, hold, believe, and dream at the same time. It has been an honor. Thank you so much, Chima.
thank you so much, Rohan. I really
Thank
do
you.
appreciate this amazing opportunity. And I want to say, keep doing what you're doing. This is an amazing platform.
Thank
You're
you.
giving people the opening to learn more for themselves. And I really do appreciate you giving me this platform to share what I actually want,
Oh,
I love with everyone. And thank
thank
you
you.
so much, Rohene. It was really an amazing interview.
Likewise. Thank you. If this episode spoke to something you have been quietly carrying, don't let it end here. Subscribe to Unspeakable Leadership and join thousands of listeners and viewers around the world who are redefining leadership on their own terms. Every week of each season, we unpack conversations most people avoid: power, identity, reinvention, grief, ambition, courage, the cost of shrinking, and the freedom of becoming. This podcast isn't surface level. It's honest, it's layered, it's the kind of conversation that stays with you long after the episode ends. So I'm going to ask you for a favor. Subscribe to this podcast, leave a review, or share the episode with somebody who needs to hear it. Because every share helps the stories that you hear reach the people who have been searching for the language, the clarity, and the right nudge to lead differently. And if an episode has moved you, tell me. I always love hearing from you.